Hey everybody, welcome to the review for sections 5.2 and 5.3. I'm going to go ahead and do the left side of the paper. The first one starts off just adding, and you just need to add like terms. So I'm going to have 10x to the fourth, and then let's see here, there's nothing for minus to go with the minus 5x to the third. So just write that. And then there's also nothing for the negative 1x squared. But is there something for minus 5x? No. But minus 3 and minus 4 combine for minus 7. And so that would be the final answer. It doesn't matter if there's parentheses when you're adding, just add like terms, no signs change, and that's really all there is to it. Now, if you're subtracting, you need to distribute that negative, and so basically you have 7x to the fourth minus 5x minus 3 minus 3x to the fourth minus 5x to the third, plus 5x to the third, plus 1x squared, plus 4. So let's see here. Are there any terms to the fourth power? Yes, there are. 7x to the fourth minus 3x to the fourth, so that's 4x to the fourth. Are there anything to the third power? Just that 5x to the third. Alright, is there anything to the second power? Just that 1x squared. Is there anything to the first power? Just that minus 5x. And then we have minus 3 plus 4, so that's a positive 1. And yeah, that's it. That's the answer. Alright, number 3. I'm going to start off distributing like I did before. Only I'm not adding or subtracting, I'm just multiplying. So I have 3x to the third minus 4x squared, and x times 5 is 5x. Okay, and then in red I'm going to do negative 2 times each term. So that's going to get me negative 6x squared and positive 8x and negative 10. And let's just combine like terms. Was there anything to the third power? No, there was not. Was there anything to the second power? Minus 4x squared minus 6x squared. So that will be negative 10x squared. Is there anything just to the x? Minus 5 or plus 5x plus 8x, so that's plus 13x. And then we just had the minus 10 that was by itself. So that's all there is to do on number 3. Okay, so number 4 is a binomial expansion to the fourth power, and that would normally take a lot of time if you were to do it like you did number 3, where you write everything out and distribute it. So looking at your 5.2 notes, I covered the Pascal's triangle for binomial expansion, and in the fourth row, it has the pattern that it's going to make. And so all you need to do is define your A and B. So my A is x, and my B is negative 2. Actually, we'll just make this plus 2 to make it a little bit easier, to make this example go quicker. So B is going to be 2, and yeah, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to write 1a to the fourth, so that's going to be 1x to the fourth, and then I'm going to go 4a to the third b, so plus 4a to the third, x to the third, and b is 2. Alright. And then 6a squared b squared plus 6a squared is x squared, b squared is 2 squared, plus 4a b to the third. So 4x 2 to the third. And then plus 1b to the fourth. Plus 1 times 2 to the fourth. Okay? So once you have everything out, now just simplify your multiplication. The first term, 1x to the fourth, you can just write x to the fourth. The second term, 4 times x to the third times 2, that can just be written as 8x to the third. 6x squared times 2 squared. Well, 2 squared is 4, and 4 times 6 is 24, so I'm going to write 24x squared. And 2 to the third times 4, 2 to the third is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32, so I'm going to put plus 32x. And then 1 times 2 to the fourth, well, 2 to the fourth power is 16, and so it's just going to say plus 16. And that's it for number 4. There, I had to fix that 8. It looked a little sideways. But yeah, let's move on to number 5. So here we have a binomial expansion to the third power. So go back to your 5.2 notes and look at the cube of a binomial example. And depending on whether it's a plus or minus sign, that'll just change these signs right here. But you'll just plug in a positive number for A and a positive number for B. And then just put the minus signs where they should go based on what the formula says. So let's see here. We have A as 3x and B as positive 1. So I'm going to do the first thing is, and it's a plus, so I'm looking at this one right here. It says a to the third plus 3a squared b. So a to the third, that would be 3x to the third. Notice how I put it in parentheses because a is all of 3x. A is all of 3x. So it's not 3 or x, it's 3x together. So 3x to the third plus, and I already forgot what the second thing was, 3a squared b. So I'm going to go 3 times a squared, so that's 3x squared times b. That's 1. Alright, and then what comes next? 3ab squared plus b to the third. So 3ab squared would be 3, and a is x, 3x, and b squared is 1 squared, plus, and it said b to the third, so that's 1 to the third. Right? Did I make any mistakes? Doesn't look like it. Alright, so we're going to go back, and now we're going to simplify. So, what is 3 to the third power? 3 to the third power is 27. So 3x to the third power is 27x to the third power. What about 3 times 3x squared? Well, 3x squared would make 9x squared, and 9x squared times 3 would be 27x squared. Times 1 would just make it 27x squared still, so yeah. And then we have 3 times 3x times 1 squared. So 1 squared is 1, and 1 times 3 is 3. So 3 times 3x is 9x. And then plus 1 to the third power is just plus 1. And yeah, that's it. That's the final answer. It's much easier once you have those when you have those rules to work with. So looking at something like number 6, this is going to be an awful lot of distributing. So x times x is x squared. X times minus 1 is minus 1x. Alright, then we have negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. So we just took care of those first two parentheses. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just simplify this real quick. That's x squared minus 3x plus 2. And then I still need to multiply it times x plus 3. Okay? So then I'm going to do x squared times x. So that's x to the third. Then I'm going to go x squared times 3. And that's going to be 3x squared. Then I'm going to go negative 3x times x, so that's going to be negative 3x squared. And then I'm going to go negative 3x times 3, and that's going to be negative 9x. And then I'm going to go 2 times x, so that's 2x. And 2 times 3, and that's 6. So that's going to make 0x, right? So 0x squared. And this is going to make negative 7x. So let's write our final answer. X to the third, I don't have to write anything to the second power, so x to the third minus 7x plus 6 is the final answer. So no shortcuts to that, just because there were 3 different binomials, whereas the previous 2 was the same thing done to power 3 or power 4. But yeah, that's all there is to that one. So let's move on to number 7. Solve using synthetic division. All right. Synthetic division, remember you have to flip the sign on this because it's defined as x minus k, so k is going to be 6. So I'm going to write down a 6. I'm going to draw like, I just call it the L thing, and then you use the coefficients. You have 1x to the fourth minus 5x to the third minus 8x squared plus 13x minus 12. So it goes in order. It doesn't skip any powers. So the first number always gets carried down, and so you have 1, and then you're going to multiply times that outside number. So that's 1 times 6 is 6, and negative 5 plus 6 is 1, and 1 times 6 is still 6, and negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2, and negative 2 times 6 is negative 12, and negative 12 plus 13 is 1. 1 times 6 is 6, and negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6. So the last term is always the remainder. Alright, and everything else, it should start with x to the third power, so it should work. We should have x to the third, x squared, x, nothing, and then remainder, okay? It should always go down in that order. Because you had x to the fourth, you're dividing by an x, so your answer should start with an x to the third. So it makes sense. So I have 1x to the third plus 1x squared minus 2x plus 1, and then I have minus 6 over x minus 6. And that's the answer. That's all there is to synthetic division. So the next one, solve using long division. Well, set it up a little bit differently. Like traditionally how you would do division by hand. And then focus on the outside terms. So what is x to the third divided by x squared? That's just x. So I'm going to need to multiply x times x squared and minus 9. So I have x times x squared is x to the third, and x times negative 9 is negative 9x, so I'm going to write negative 9x right there, and I'll subtract. Okay, and so that's going to cancel there. Make sure you use parentheses. Let's see here. So this x squared was unaffected, so I'll bring that down. The minus 6 was unaffected, so I'll bring that down. And what's negative 9x minus negative 9x? It cancels. Alright, so now I'm looking at this. What is x squared divided by x squared? Well, anything divided by itself is 1, so I'm going to write a plus 1. And then, so multiplying 1 times x squared is x squared, and multiplying 1 times negative 9 is negative 9. I'll put it in parentheses and subtract. So that cancels. And negative 6 minus negative 9 is negative 6 plus 9, and that's 3. And that's my remainder, okay? Because 3 divided by x squared doesn't make anything. So my final answer here is x squared, x plus 1 plus 3 over x squared minus 9. And that's it. So, the last one, another long division problem. Look at the outside terms. What's 2a to the third divided by 2a? 2 divided by 2 is 1, and a to the third divided by a is a squared. So I'm going to put a squared. So you're going to multiply a squared times both terms. So 2a times a squared is 2a to the third. And 1 times a squared is 1a squared. So plus 1a squared. And then I'm going to subtract that out. So these cancel. And 7a squared minus 1a squared is 6a squared. And then you can just carry down these other two. Minus 5a minus 2. And then now I'm looking at 6a squared divided by 2a. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so I'll put plus 3. And a squared divided by a is a. So I'm going to multiply each term by 3a. So 2a times 3a is 6a squared. And 1 times 3a is 3a. So plus 3a. That's a 3. Alright, subtract these out. Use parentheses. So you have negative 5 minus 3a. So negative 5 minus 3a would be negative 8a. And then the minus 2 carries on down. And so now I'm looking at negative 8a divided by 2a. And negative 8, the a's will cancel, so negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So I'm going to write minus 4. I'll multiply both of these by negative 4. So that gets me negative 8a here. And 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Put a minus, so these cancel. And you have negative 2 minus negative 4. So negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2. So that's your remainder, because you can't do 2 divided by 2a because it doesn't have an a with it. And so let's write our final answer then. A squared plus 3a minus 4 plus, and then we have our remainder of 2 over 2a plus 1. And that's it. That's going to wrap it up for the review. I hope this helped. Good luck on the right side of the problem. Good luck on the test. Don't forget to write down things on your note card. Okay, goodbye everyone.